Hello, Dragon Warrior Randomizer fans. We're here today to watch a race between ryguy3745 and ratlifTheRat from the Summer Standard 2023 Summer Tournament. I'm Minaro, and I'm joined by Archfield the Monk. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. A little bit shocked that I managed to get this one started and going on time because we just finished up over on Warrior Randomizer, but welcome in everybody. I've got another race that's actually from the Pulse Line group here. Ryguy and Ratlif. Ryguy is 4-1 coming in, Ratlif 1-1, and it looks like we're about to get underway.
Yeah, pretty decent starting stats. We've got a lot of HP and none of the stats are terribly low. Nothing too interesting in the throne room, but... oh, they start with hurt more and healed. Well, this could get very interesting depending on what they manage to find nearby.
Yeah, this kind of a start is kind of fascinating. They have the one hurt more already with that starting 8 MP. Looks like Ryguy is going to get a Scorpion, Magidrake for Ratlif. Both of them will get level 2, which is 4-1-4-1.
Just a nice little bump to make it easier to actually fight any of the remaining monsters now that they're out of MP until they get to the next level.
Yeah, what you really want here is a lot of MP really fast. Ryguy got the next level. He did get 2 MP on that level, so he at least has 2 casts of Hurt more now. And there's a cave just north of the castle here that looks like it's Swamp North.
Well, that's always interesting when they have any of the swamp entrances either directly below the castle or very near the castle, because depending on the outline of the map, it could mean that you can either transition to another continent or just another side of the map very easily.
Yeah, or for all we know, that might just be a tunnel that takes you back underneath Tanagel. It could be just about anything at this point, so we'll see if they decide to go through there sooner rather than later, as Ratlif also picks up level 3.
Yeah, with a Hurtmore start, regardless of what you manage to find, the start is going to get off the ground very quickly. I mean, even if you can only use a few Hurtmores, it still means that you're guaranteed to be able to kill something. And you don't really have to be picky about what you fight. They got 18 agility though on that level 4. That's a big bump to their, well, ease of exploration if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty nice to see here. You want the MP to pick up, of course, but Ryguy is going to take the quick refill in this swamp as he has spotted the trade-in cave, the Rainbow Drop Cave just there to the south of the castle as well. So 2 castles spotted already. And Ratlif looks intent upon keeping that starting gold there. You did see level 4, along with that agility, also picked up the spells of Hurt, Outside, and Repel.
Yeah, especially Repel, while not so relevant right now, is going to be very useful, especially once they get a bit more defense, maybe found a shop or 2 to actually bump up that defense even further and want to actually start exploring a bit. And Hurt can be useful for being a little bit more conservative on your MP if you run into something that you can't really swing down but will die in like maybe 1 or 2 hurts.
Yeah, exactly. I think a good play is when you have especially MP that is this low, they have that spare hurt. So they could always maybe hurt more a werewolf if it doesn't die in the first shot and they live through the attack. They can follow up with that hurt spell and probably take it out anyway. So that can be handy to have when the MP starts off low like this.
Yeah, there's like a handful of monsters like that. There's also the Axe Knight is probably a pretty safe bet to use. To just sell for a hurt if they don't die to the hurt more. I think you draw the line at like Armored Knights, right? Because they're very unlikely to go down to just the hurt more and the regular hurt.
Yeah, too much in terms of hit points. It's things like your werewolves, your star wyverns, your axe knights, your green dragons. Those are the things you might have a chance against.
Yeah. And we spot our first red dragon. And I didn't see exactly where he was, but it didn't seem like he was that far from the castle, so youch.
Yeah, a little bit to the southeast, I think, there of the Rainbow Drop Cave, which is to the south of Tanagel. So yeah, not very far away, and it looks like he's going to head back to the north here. Both of our racers have hit level 6. The stats are a little bit laggardly, but a bunch of MP on that level 6. We saw ryguy actually jump from 4 to 6 on an Axe Knight, but Ratlif got that incrementally, so we were able to see the stats broken down a little bit more.
Yeah, and I mean, while we're not getting much right now of one specific thing, apart from maybe MP, the stats for level 6 aren't really that bad.
Oh, for sure. For level 6, they're actually pretty okay. Like 38 agility here. Nothing wrong with that. And ryguy actually gets an opening attack on this armor knight and is able to take it out, so he's going to jump to level 7.
Oh, 14 hit points. That's a nice boost.
Yeah, neither strength nor agility on that level 7, but a good hit points boost, which is really nice for surviving some back attacks and what have you. And now up to 6 total hurt more casts with 30 MP, so starting to shape up a little bit.
Yeah, and that return is just mostly a convenience at times, especially if you're like finding a dead end in your exploration or something, or other similar situations where you would rather want to keep your gold rather than death warping. But it's not as relevant as pretty much any of the other spells.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have late. We do know they're going to have to return pretty close to start to get the rainbow drop late in the seed, so having that in the back pocket already means that that's going to solve some potential routing issues for you later on. But yeah, for right now, probably not a big deal. Much later on, that will help out a lot.
Yeah, it's mostly a thing when you're either you want to save your money because you're looking to buy something, or if you're just unlikely to be able to get a death warp in a timely fashion because your stats are too high or the enemies anywhere nearby are simply too weak.
Precisely. Here we've got Ratlif taking out this werewolf. He only needed a handful of experience to the next level and will also get to level 7. We see a town on ryguy's screen. I don't believe we've seen this town yet. Just to a little bit to the south, then east of Start, and then further to the east we've got Cantlin around this little mountain range here. And he has not much in the way of money and no keys, so just actually decides to give it a quick exit.
Yeah, but that's a useful location to know of, especially if we find out that we might be able to get a gold grind inside the castle at some point, seeing that it's not too far from the castle.
Yeah, Cantlin Close really bodes well if there's a potential gold grind glitch available later in the seed, because you've got 3 shops there in Cantlin, so high chance that you've got at least some of the things you'd be looking for there. They're those big ticket items, maybe a flame sword, magic armor, silver shield, those types of things. But even if it doesn't have those, chances are you can have get access to some fallback equipment there as well. So that is very nice to see close to Start.
Yeah, you're not guaranteed to be able to find the best in each category of equipment, but at the very least you should be able to, within all 3 shops combined, be able to expect to get at least the second best or best in each category, more or less.
Yeah, exactly it. I think we've seen Ratlif. He's going to make use of that return spell for the first time because he explored a little bit to the east of that swamp north entrance there, through some swamp, and just found the dead end. So there is nothing else to the north of Start other than that swamp cave entrance.
Yes, and while finding a dead end can feel a bit bad, it's also a good find because you know you don't need to go further in that direction when you're doing an exploration.
Yeah, exactly. Rogue Scorpions with that DL2 breath. That will be currently only 54 hit points in level 7, so that is lethal 100% of the time right now. Yeah,
fortunately they're like an enemy that you normally... I mean, they can't really fight them properly right now with the attack power they have, so they would still need to like either hurt or hurt more them, but it's still a bit bad.
Yes, on 38 agility, still somewhat likely to get back attacked by those, and that's sort of the big danger. Ratlif has managed to hold on to a good bit of money here, and has picked up a copper sword. That's good for 10 attack power. The top shop there in Caitlin.
Yeah, that's a nice little boost to take you up to a level where you're able to actually get some decent damage numbers on some of the enemies. But what you said about Scorpions, especially Scorpions, since they are like the low HP, high defense enemies, they are among, generally, apart from the high-end enemies, some of the most likely enemies to ambush you. So seeing those with anything dangerous is generally especially bad.
At 100%, yeah, you've got to watch out for those high agility enemies for that reason. Ryguy has picked up level 8. There was a 24 strength boost there, so he actually just went ahead and he landed a hurt more on that green dragon just now and went ahead and swung afterward because he's already in range to potentially take those out with a melee attack after. So a big strength boost there on level 8. Little bit of agility there, 6 agility, also 12 more hit points and 1 more magic point. So a pretty good level 8.
Oh yeah, that strength boost, as you said, since he was able to swing, he essentially saves a bit of additional MP in some cases where he's just a baby breath, where he's able to just swing enemies down instead of needing to rely on using his precious MP.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think I saw that droll or a droll variation that had, yeah, he had a hurt more.
Yes, that droll had hurt more, so hopefully something that our racers are already able to repel, I believe, on 21 defense. Maybe not quite, actually, I think about it. But they'll be able to repel those in the late game, so won't be too much of a concern. That Droll Magi, or pardon me, not Droll Magi, but that Druin Lord did have weak breath, but that again is another enemy that will die 100% of the time to a hurt more, so hopefully that won't come into play either.
Yeah, well, the weak breath stings right now. It's not that bad if you run into it. Oh, and Ratlif gets his taste of the Rogue Scorpion ambush.
Yeah, there's that ambush into the DL2 right away. A little bit unfortunate for both racers, honestly. The DL2 percentage maxes out at 50%, so it's a coin flip whether the Rogue Scorpion will even use that move on its turn, but both of our racers have gotten bitten by that one already. And with that Knight, Ryguy is going to hit level 9.
And we get 6 strength, 4 agility, 8 hit points, and 8 magic. A nice general boost.
Yeah, pretty good boost across the board. I think pretty importantly there now, 74 hit points. That means our runners, if, Ryguy for the moment, if he stays topped off at 74, he is insulated against being one-shot by that Dragon Lord 2 breath. So that's a good total to have right now.
Yeah, the only thing that's a bit iffy about certain enemies having this dangerous ability, like you mentioned the Droll earlier, because the Droll is one of those enemies that at their roughly around their current attack power, they'd be fine just swinging away at them because they'd like take them down in 2 or at most 3 swings. But because he saw Ratlif saw it having the hurt more, it kind of takes that out of the picture. So it's like one less enemy that you could potentially just farm for some experience.
Exactly. So fewer options on the table when they have those kinds of abilities. Ryguy has spotted a cave here. This is on the south coast of the map, just past Charlock. He is out of resources, but has managed to walk to the top 3 of Grave here. Pulls out a pair of wings, an herb, and the Fighter's Ring for +2 attack power.
You also have a raid from Reina Ruinous.
Thank you, Raiders. Welcome in. Got a race in the 2023 Dragon Warrior Randomizer Summer Tournament. We're just under 14 minutes into this one. Very fast start. Both of our racers started with Hurtmore, so Ryguy at level 9, Ratlif at level 8. And we're off to the races here with already a fair few locations found. But still on the hunt for keys. and all of our quest items, as well as our Erdrix gear.
Yeah, the other thing about finding Cantlin, even if it doesn't have, like, it does have the coordinates later on when you feel that you want to actually pay the resource tax of getting through those barrier tiles. More than anything, it's essentially like finding multiple towns just in terms of your shopping opportunities. So
Ryguy there, sorry about that. Ryguy there, I just want to point out real quick, has fought several Axe Knights already, but that Axe Knight showed that it had sleep. It's the first time I think we've seen that ability.
Ouch. Hopefully that means it has a low percentage, hopefully we might not see it that often, but that makes it kind of... I mean, they do have a stop spell, so with that knowledge he might decide to use a stop spell, but that also means that it might potentially cost more resources to fight them.
Yeah, and right now just 39 MP on level 9 for Ryguy. So you might take it. There's a couple different ways to play that Axe Knight fight. If you hurt more, you're about 60% to take it out in one shot. So you can always go for that maneuver, and because we haven't seen the sleep yet, also possible that it maybe has it at just 25% or so. And so you can just take your chances there with the hurt and hope you take it out. Ratlif here up to level 9 now, so both of our runners on the same level, but right now Ryguy has about a 300 experience point over Ratlif. And Ryguy's gone through Swamp Cave, so he's on second continent now, assuming that there are 2 separate continents here. I think he'd explored much of first continent. I'm not 100% sure that he'd seen everything kind of further to the east, but we have seen the west coast and the south coast fairly extensively. And there was just 2 tiles from the west coast to Tanagel, so the potential is there for perhaps a reverse count later in the seed if it comes up.
Yeah, I'd say it's hard to say right now who has the potential exploratory lead, but I'd say generally speaking, I'd say Ryguy is probably in the general lead, also in both exploration and experience. I mean, the potential difference you could give is that Ratlif has a bit of shopping edge on Ryguy, but that's mostly down to, with the actual things he has picked up, down to just actually making a trip to Cantlin.
Some really staggering levels here, both in terms of the distribution and the amount. Level 10 for Ryguy, 4 strength, 0 agility, 31 hit points, and 3 magic points. So we've had some pretty big swings here in terms of the statistics so far. Already 105 hit points on level 10.
Yeah, that already puts us in good range to, or at least our HP, fight the Dragon Lord. And depending on, as long as our HP growth doesn't just crawl down to a halt completely, it also opens up a good potential for a Death Necklace seed.
Yes, exactly. So by the time our runners are go, it seems pretty likely that their hit points will be in that range where the Death Necklace might come into play. But in the meantime, Hawksness and I believe Tablet Cave on Ryguy's screen, he saw both and had to opt out because he was out of resources, and then got the express trip home via Red Dragon as Ratlif gathers level 10.
Yeah, and he will also see that gigantic HP gain. Yeah, with the limited amount of MP we have right now, there's only so much exploration you can realistically get done anywhere with any decently dangerous enemies, especially since you'll also want to actually get the experience along the way and not just be quote-unquote wasting precious time by not taking out easily hurtable enemies and such.
Yeah, one thing that you want to try to avoid whenever possible in a seed like this is when you run out of resources, just try to get them back as quickly as possible. If you've got a town for a refill, great. But any exploration you do when you don't have that hurt more handy, that just means you're potentially passing on experience against easily hurt more monsters. Ryguy actually swung at that golem there. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but he's certainly not got the attack power to try to take that on right now, so... gets sent back.
He did try to run from it, and considering he had just recently left the castle, I'm pretty sure that was likely a mismenu, and he just then got unfortunately stopped on his run attempt and got sent home early.
Ratlif back into Caitlin. I see a large shield, full plate magic armor there in the top shop. He is going to have enough money to grab that large shield. He's done a good job of staying alive and keeping his gold. And he's seen this shop already, so he knew what was waiting around there for him. That large shield will be good for plus 10 defense.
Yeah, that's especially given our current stats, that's a pretty significant bump to your defenses, which, depending on what tier of enemies you're fighting, that could make between like a small bump in your survivability or make a massive bump in how much damage you're actually taking. Like something like the Stoneman will still hit pretty hard, but it's still a significant decrease in how much damage you're taking, while something like the more around our tier of enemies, like wolves and such, will essentially be neutered by that defense boost.
Ryguy made a beeline straight back for Hawksness. That spike tile could have had a hurt mortal enemy on it, but instead we see a golem there today that cannot be taken down right now. It does not have near enough to do that. Did check for the fairy flute, but our racers are mostly empty on items so far. So he's going to have to skip Hawksness for the moment and come back to that later.
Yeah, we've been seeing golems in a bunch of different encounter zones as well as that spike tile, so I think they probably won't have any regrets about finding the fairy flute at this point.
Yeah, lots of golems. We've seen them in multiple zones now, and we've also seen that golem on the Hawksness spike. So that flute could come in handy if we come across it somewhere else. Of course, that golem itself could be guarding the fairy flute in Hawksness. One of 7 items could be there. One of our 3 quest items, the Silver Harp, Stones of Sunlight, or Erdrick's Token. The fairy flute, the Death Necklace, or Erdrick's Sword or Erdrick's Armor. They'll be on that spot, or any of the other 2 search spots throughout the game.
Yeah, especially in a seed like this where you're running into so many golems in the wild, it would be especially painful if the flute is hidden beneath another golem.
Yes, poetic irony, I think.
Quite so.
Regardless. Regardless. Ryguy's in Tablet Cave, so there's one free chest down here. He's opted to walk this in the dark. One of the spells our runners do not have yet is Radiant. And this is a gold chest, but he'll be able to outside immediately. Hopefully continue his exploration, although this westerly direction is where he was stopped by a red dragon last time. I suppose not stopped so much as that was a welcome death warp at the time. But Ratlif has actually settled into a grind here and has been hunting green dragons and has picked up level 11. So that's 255. Whoa. And what was... Wait. I don't... So I'm gonna tell you, I have some vision problems, and when I saw that, I was pretty sure I was wrong, but that was 70 magic points.
Yep, I was also doubting my eyes there for a second. I don't think I've ever seen a game that high.
Is bonkers. I have never seen... I think the highest hit points gain I've ever seen was in the 90s, but that is by some distance the highest magic points gain I've ever seen. So all of a sudden, Ratlif has all of the resources he could possibly want. But it looks like he's content to continue grinding here for the moment, at least. Maybe run out this MP pool, and then he'll have considerably more hurt mores at his disposal once he tops off in Caitlin. Was also maybe looking for the money for some more equipment too. But wow, huge MP gate, bigger than any I've ever seen on level 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon that you see like a stat gain in the seeds hitting like 30s or 40s, but anything above that is extremely rare.
Yes, substantial outlier there, and Ryguy is going to get the good news here after hurt-mooring this night. And Ratlif did save up enough money to buy that half-plate, so he's boosted his defense now into that range where if he wants to use Repel, he's going to be getting rid of a lot of that kind of lower to mid-game stuff that you can skip. That's exactly what he's going to do, and he's going to go explore. He's well situated to do it right now.
Yeah, I mean, with the HP and MP he has right now, he's not, and combined with the level he's at, he's not really interested in any of the lower tier enemies anyway. Even if he had Eldritch Sword and could swing at them, he wouldn't really be interested in those small potatoes at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So this it looks like a good plan paying off here for Ratlif. He's got some defense. He's going to keep going, and we see Ryguy is going to take a peek here to the east. He hasn't been this direction yet. We know Ratlif has dead-ended this peninsula, but needs to check that off his list before he continues going back through Swamp Cave, it looks like. Ratlif, meanwhile, has headed northeast of Cantlin, and I don't know that we've really seen much of the map in this direction yet. Lots of desert, though.
Yeah, a whole, like, the equivalent of the Sahara Desert or something here.
Yes, only swamp tiles and water surrounding them on screen there for a bit, but does make his way around, and we do have a cave here. Not sure if we've seen this one so far. Pretty sure we haven't, in fact.
No,
oh, actually, you know what? That is Swamp South. So this is a single continent seed, and he has wrapped around to this exit of Swamp Cave. So the rest of the territory that Ryguy's already seen going through Swamp is actually to Ratlif's east right now. Ooh.
Well, that's a good start if you are actually going to attempt to fight the Red Dragon to actually start off with a critical hit.
Much better to have that crit on the first swing than the one that's guaranteed to kill it anyway. And with that 350 XP, Ratlif will actually jump straight up to level 12. 4 power, 11 speed, 1 hit point, 2 magic points.
Yeah, at this point, compared to our HP and MP, our strength and agility still needs to go a bit higher before we can actually be in go mode, but just looking at our level, those numbers aren't really that bad. It's just that our HP and MP is just so high compared to where we would normally be at this point.
Yes, those big HP and MP totals make the strength and agility look somewhat poor by comparison, but remember, we're just 26 minutes into this one and Ratlif already level 12. So this one has been very fast. Our runners are already in position where they can fight red dragons if they want to, especially Ratlif with that weapon, but Ryguy finds Brecconary, so maybe he'll get a weapon of his own here. Not much actually there in the Brecconary shop. He's gonna get half plate, but... Oh, yes! Everybody, get your GGs out in chat. Ryguy has just won the race. No, I'm kidding. But he did buy a bamboo pole. And that's good enough, isn't it? I think it is.
Everybody... For anyone unaware, there's a sort of loosely known inside joke that the bamboo pole gives just a small bump to your attack power of 2, but it increases your critical hit rate, which is entirely unfounded, and there's no statistical proof for it, but it's fun to imagine.
Terrific. Ryguy finds out these green dragons have hurt, so they're nerfed a little bit in this seed. That's the first time we've seen that out of them. But Ratlif, with that copper sword, has found Hawksness. This is his first trip in, and he's in good position to take out this golem on the first trip, even though not doing a ton of damage, but he has plenty of HP Gilmores to tank this fight.
Yeah, it's a slow grind, but it's definitely doable. It's gonna eat up a lot of resources, but it's depending on what you find on this search tile, it's could definitely be worth it. And meanwhile, Ryguy has found access to keys.
And there we go, Remulder. That'll be a pretty big deal. First key get of the seed here in the 29th minute.
That will open up a lot of potential. And we have the sword on the search tile.
Wow, so 2 big finds here for both of our racers. Ratlif plows through that golem, picks up Erdrick's sword. That's plus 40 attack power, so 30 better than the copper sword he had been using. Best sword in the game. Ryguy checks that rim chest and we'll get a pair of wings for those 2 keys.
Yeah, and those green dragons, if we manage to find one like in the swamp spike tile, that would make them an amazing grind if they, with the hurt spell they have. It's like, if depending on the rate they use hurt, it's, especially once you find Eldric's armor, it's like barely gonna scratch you comparable to their regular attack.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really, there are a lot of potential things on the swamp spike right now that could be pretty good. That golem itself is pretty good, but seems to be kind of far away from healing. So we'll see what our runners decide to do if there's much of an endgame here, but Ratlif on level 13 does pick up 15 more hit points. So our runners are fast approaching go level already in this race.
Yeah, and I believe that should be roughly enough to put you into definiteless usage territory.
Yeah, we're right on the fringe, so this is, the expectation would be they'll pick up enough hit points to be in Death Necklace range. We have not seen that Death Necklace yet, and in fact we've seen precious little of our quest or key items yet. Haven't really seen, we've seen top 3 of Grave, but we've not seen Mountain Cave, we haven't seen Garenham yet. Of course, Ratlif has yet to access keys, so still quite a bit of exploration to do here.
Yeah, there's, I mean, there's going to be in one of these locations are almost guaranteed to have at least 2 of those items, given how spread out they are, depending on how many of the search spots are actually going to be active. But it's like finding those keys, depending on what he finds, for example, just in the treasury once he warps back, might be a huge deal, since the treasury could also have multiple of the items we need at this point.
Yeah, in addition to that basement cave. I do want to point out really quickly, I was mistaken a moment ago. Artorius has corrected me in chat. Ratlif did check that swamp spike earlier, and that was also a golem. So we've got 2 golem spikes in this seed. If you want an endgame grind, it's actually pretty good on these statistics particularly. So that will be available to our racers should they need it in the home stretch on this one.
Yeah, I mean, after taking down the first golem here in Hawk's Nest and getting the sword, the golems go from like being a big resource grind taking down to being actually decent grindable target.
Yeah. Ryguy with that bamboo pole is chipping away at it a little bit more slowly than Ratlif had, but once he gets his sword, he'll be in a better position to start really fighting anything he wants to fight.
Oh yeah, unless they have anything nasty at that point, you should be able to fight mostly everything but the Dragon Lord with these stats.
Ryguy does get through his golem. He's just short of level 12, but he is going to get Erdrick's sword. Some might say that's not actually an improvement over the bamboo pole, but in this case it's at least plus 38 attack power. And Ryguy, since he got those keys, he doubled back to Hawksness and then just decided, you know what, I'm going to head back. I've got this location to open with Tanagel and the cave beneath it. Might not even need to track down anything else. But this treasury so far looks like gold miscellaneous equipment and a fairy flute that is probably unnecessary.
Yeah, now with the sword you don't really want to waste that time sleeping a golem when you could just swing away. Although, I must say, I love EMP any amount of money's comment in the chat. Using a pole is all you can do sometimes.
Bravo. Ratlif has got 2 damage down on this metal slime, and it's sticking around.
Yeah, you're always a bit like on the edge when you're fighting metal slimes once you're beyond the like 20 strength mark, because if you do take it down it's gonna feel nice, but you know that every single swing is a potential run away from that slime, but he manages to take it down and gets his 255 experience.
Yeah, not bad. That one took a little while. You almost don't really want to see metal slimes at this stage of the seed. You have got the attack power and resources that you, but as it turns out, Ratlif's out of MP anyway, so probably best thing to do there is just swing away. Your chances of running from a metal slime aren't great because they have max agility. So, you know, may as well take them on.
That's the thing about metal slimes in seeds, depending on well, especially if they have anything nasty on them, but in general is that metal slimes can be both a blessing and a curse simply because, while if you do want to find them, it's great, but if you don't want to see them, you're pretty much your only best choice is to just try to swing at them regardless, because trying to actually run away from them is just generally a futile effort.
Got another 2 damage on this metal slime here, does Ratliff. But we're going to get a coordinates check from ryguy. So interesting the way this is playing out so far. ryguy with these keys, he is actually about just under 2,000 experience points short of Ratliff at the moment. But with these keys, has managed to make headway exploring. Look at these coordinates. 71 north, 98 to the east.
That's... I mean, given how our continent looks, it might be countable, but do you really want to?
Especially with Swamp Cave sitting so close to home and a pretty simple Guardian that we've already seen in Swamp Cave. I think ryguy's headed straight there, actually. So yeah, we know this is a single continent. It is countable in some fashion, but yeah, would you really want to? Most runners, I think, would say, nah, I'm good. We're gonna grab the GPS and be done. Here's level 12 for ryguy. Ratliff here is in Grave. He's going to grab top 3. We'd already seen this on ryguy's side, just the Fighter's Ring. Not totally inconsequential, but certainly nothing of much point here. However, Ratliff's going to try to make his way out, I think. And he does have the outside spell, but maybe he's out of resources still at this point. Yeah, he still hasn't actually gotten his Death Warp yet, so Ratliff's been exploring on no resources for quite some time now. And I think actually walked around to Grave a long way on this single continent.
Yeah, depending... At this point, it's really going to make a big difference depending on how long it takes him to actually find his way to the keys.
Yeah, the key is going to be a big deal. There's only one potential spot left where there might be a free key, and even that... might itself be under Garenham, which is key locked, because we've seen the rest of the caves now, except for Mountain Cave. And I think we are still missing one of the trade-in caves, maybe the Staff of Rain, so I think there's a 50-50 shot that one of those is underneath Garenham. And if Mountain Cave is underneath Garenham, that means the only place to get keys will be Remulder.
Yeah. Have we seen the bonus cave?
That was actually under Tanagel, so that was the cave that ryguy checked out once he got his keys and went back to start.
Go. And Ratliff taking the Death Warp by adjusting the position of his Fighter's Ring.
Yes, and Schmeich pointing out as well, the odds of a loose key somewhere in Mountain Cave are reduced because there was one in the Tanagel Treasury, so... yeah, it seems likely that Rim will be required in the seat.
So it all comes down to how long will it actually take Ratliff to find Rimuldar, but it also depends on how quickly ryguy manages to find the actual locations that require the keys in the first place. So, like, depending on how long it takes him to get back to Deep Dive Grave, or to actually find the towns where he actually needs keys to access things. It's like, if he takes a lot of time actually finding those locations, it also doesn't really matter if Ratliff takes a long time to find Rimuldar.
Exactly, because that's a good summary of our exploration to this point. So ryguy's got those keys, but he still needs to find Garenham. We're still missing armor and all 3 quest items. ryguy has the coordinates and now has the princess in arms. Was able to actually gather, cut into that experience lead that Ratliff has by about 1,000. Took some golems while he was down there on that spike tile. So the experience lead has shortened up a bit.
Ryguy now has his GPS in hand and will probably, while he goes back to exploring, he probably won't look. He'll probably first check where he comes out at the other end of the swamp cave to see roughly where his position is at, and then make his way roughly towards the location and see if it is around a new area, he'll also make that his exploration target. Otherwise, he'll probably go check what's on the coordinates and then get back to actually exploring.
Yeah, I think as Ryguy hits level 13 here, I think there's actually a decent chance that the coordinates will end up leading toward maybe some of these locations we haven't seen yet. I think that northeast quadrant of the map is the one that's been least explored to this point. And of course, Ryguy doesn't know that this is a unified continent yet. Yeah, I don't think he's seen the other end of Swamp Cave yet. I could be wrong from that northerly direction, but his GPS will probably lead him further to the northeast of here.
Yeah, I don't know if he's managed to run across a meetup point between the two locations, but he definitely hasn't walked actually between the two locations yet.
Ratlif had not quite cleared to the east of Grave here yet. He comes across a wizard. This encounter will give him the level. That wizard has hurt more, but not a big deal right at the moment. Level 14 incoming for Ratlif at 6 power, 2 speed, 5 hit points, and 3 magic points. You were talking earlier. Oh, there are remaining 2 spells as well, Sleep and Radiant. But as you'd mentioned earlier, our HP was probably going to catch up to that Death Necklace spot, and right now, if Ratlif had the Death Necklace, he would theoretically be go, because he's got 14 heal mores there, so he'd be in pretty good shape on 133.
Yeah, if he had all of the stuff he needed, even if his agility is a bit on the low end, it wouldn't really matter because he would have enough attack power with the Death Necklace and enough heal mores to make up for the difference.
Yes, exactly. Here we see that Axonite also has Weak Breath behind that sleep we saw earlier, but actually a little bit convenient there for Ratlif. He had finished exploring that peninsula to the east of Grave, so he is going to get his resources back at start and get to set off exploring another direction. While Ryguy, I think, did head to the north and east here. Takes out that red dragon, so another XP jump for him.
Yeah, that weak breath on those knights will be a bit of a blessing in case they do manage to sleep you, since it increases your odds of actually surviving the encounter, especially once you have Eldrick's armor. But as you also mentioned, those wizards, while them having hurts a bit, especially before you have the armor. With the attack power we have, we can reliably kill them in 2 swings, so we don't really care.
Yeah, not too bad overall. You'd much prefer to see that hurt than something else that's going to be a nuisance, like a sleep spell or even Dragon 2 Breath.
Yeah, especially the sleep spell, because more than anything, even if it's not going to put you in danger, it will always waste time.
A little bit of our high five for our runners here, both in the same neighborhood. There's this dead end inside the mountain gap here. That guy's headed to the west, around this body of water. Finds the west coast again, so I'm guessing this is somewhere north of Tanagel. That it's actually might be pretty close to start there. Deep off the peninsula.
Yeah, this area really wraps around in all kinds of directions, and it's really curvy and with a lot of dead ends.
Yeah, Ryguy just discovering that entire section of land across the bridge here is a dead end. Ratlif's headed the same direction, so he's going to get that news also in just a few moments. But it looks like there is territory to the east here to explore. Ryguy wants to finish this northwest section first, and has reached the north coast, so there's nothing up here in the northwest quadrant. It looks like Ryguy will have to head the direction of those coordinates in order to find the rest of the things he's looking for.
And we have a large desert and a very large river, so I guess this is the Nile of this world.
Yeah, that looks just about right.
But yeah, at the moment both runners are more or less exploring the same area and will likely find the same things. The difference is that Ratlif doesn't have any keys yet, so if he manages to find any of the locations where he does need keys, he's going to have to actually wrap back around here again later, once he has picked up the keys, while Ryguy can take care of his business right away.
Yeah, I think that will be the interesting dynamic as the second half of this seed plays out, because right now Ratlif does have an experience lead, but with the stats our runners have, they're theoretically go at level 14. We might see either runner attempt this, but here is Mountain Cave. So this is a pretty big deal because I think Ratlif is just to the south of here right now. It's possibly missed it on his way through, but Ryguy in that first chest picks up gold. If there is a loose key in here, that might help bail Ratlif out and find Mountain Cave. But right at the moment, it looks like Ratlif's actually headed further south. Chest just off the stairs of Mountain Cave isn't.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there could be a loose key in here, and that would definitely be very useful for Ratlif. But we do find Elric's token and the key.
Well, there we go. So that makes things a little more interesting here. So Ratlif can end up skipping Rim and possibly find a key. He has spotted now Mountain Cave on his map, so as long as he has enough resources to clear it, which seems like a reasonable bet, then he'll be able to get out of here. Cursed Belt in Chest 5 for Ryguy, so gets out of there with the token. One of the 3 quest items required to enter the final dungeon. And I think that narrows it down to the point now that we know that Garanham has to have Rainbow Drop Cave. Mistake. Or,
yeah.
yes, did we see... Actually, you know what? Rainbow Drop Cave was close to start. I guess Staff Cave would get it. Pardon.
One of the trading caves.
Yeah, one of the trading caves, yeah. Rainbow Drop Cave we actually saw within the first couple of minutes. It was just to the southeast of start. So, alright, there we go.
Now the thing is, what else can he find after he has finished exploring Mountain Cave before he goes back? Because if he does manage to find like something like Garanham, it puts him in this weird spot where like he doesn't really want to use his only key, but he will also probably not want to have to walk all the way back over here again. So it's like, do I use this key now or do I not? I mean, depending on... He might even do something like just doing a redive to pick up a second key from these chests, depending on what happens. He probably won't do it right away, but if he does find Garanham, I mean, I would at least consider doing something like that if it's close nearby.
It is something to think about. I think the optimal thing to do... I think if I were playing the seed, which is not to say that what I would do is correct, but I think I would probably just outside and return right away. Because what you pointed out, that scenario is exactly what I don't want to happen. I don't want to show up at Garanham and have to choose, do I burn this key now? Because that's a really bad feeling.
Yeah, as you said, if he just outsides and returns, he can just go and pick up additional keys and then go and walk back here and avoid all of those scenarios.
Alright, another GPS ping from Ryguy. He's at 51 south, 98 to the west, and he has to be closing in not only on the coordinates, but pretty soon here, we're going to start running out of map, and he'll be closing in on Garanham too, but this Rogue Scorpion has run blocked him twice, and he gets DL2 breathed. Not only just short of level 14, but also short of finding those coordinates. Ugh, that's a painful one.
Yeah, unlike Ratliff, once he did find Mountain Cave, he had only like 16 MP left, and while he didn't really have to burn anything on the mountain dive, exploring the rest of the area around it did get pretty tight.
So Ryguy will have to set off again in search of those coordinates. We've got those 3 chests in the back of Garenham, and between those 3 chests... Oh, and Ratliff also gets sent back. This isn't the worst thing in the world for him. He's got to buy keys anyway. But
you know what is the worst, though? Those rogue scorpions also have sleep.
Oh, goodness, I missed that part. So the full wombo combo rogue scorpions. We had not seen that sleep at that point, I don't think.
Nope.
But that's a real bad one. We got 25%, 50% deal too. That about squares with what we've observed so far.
Yep, I was just about to guess it.
Level 14 for Ryguy, so he too is now essentially in go mode, should he want to be. Our runners, of course, only have 66 agility. Not a great total, but with the amount of MP that our runners have in excess of what they would need to fight the Dragon Lord 2, I think this is a doable go level. We still need the Death Necklace, of course, and we know that, like as I was saying before Ratliff took that death, we've only got the coordinates and Cole and Garenham left. So there's not too many. Our Harp and Stones have to be in basically 2 of 5 locations, and that leaves only 3 for the armor and the Death Necklace and empty. So the rest of our stuff could squirreled away in Charlock as well.
Yeah, because I don't think we've seen enough cursed belts yet to even guarantee the coal spot, so one of those spots could even straight out be empty.
Yeah, absolutely. We know the coordinates have to have something. We did pick up Erdrick's sword on that Hawksness spike, but for all we know, the coal search spot might be empty. So we'll wait to see as this exploration concludes. Ryguy has a pretty good bead on the direction he needs to go right now. He's going to do some close checking as he walks, but really is trying to make a concerted effort to get into the neighborhood of these coordinates.
Yeah, he took the actual walk over this time, not through swamp, but just walking the continent.
Yeah, so that made the connection for him. And now he knows where he needs to be and was able to pick up some explore on the way. We'll get some revenge on this rogue scorpion for good measure.
Yeah, I mean, because they don't have an astronomically high agility with the point we're at, but because they do have a decent amount, the best bet, because you know they're that dangerous, is to not risk anything and just hurt more them. Don't take any chances, just wipe them off the face of the planet.
Exactly. Right up there on the north coast, Erdrick's armor on that search spot, so Ryguy has both Erdrick's things and now knows that...
He also finds coal.
Got coal here, so that's one of our 2 remaining quest items, the Stones of Sunlight, and that third, the Silver Harp, has got to be in, well, either Garenham or the bottom 2 of Grave.
Yeah, and I think both of our runners, when they do catch up in knowledge to each other, both of them will want to not see it at the bottom of Grave.
Yes, especially at this point, you feel like, oh man, I'm already go, I still have so much stuff to find. Ratliff's actually just about to hit level 15, which could put him in even better position for the eventual Charlock dive. So, as a racer in this race, I think I'd be feeling... you almost have to feel behind even if you think you've done pretty well to this point, just because of the way the stats have gone at the sea.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like, if you haven't been extremely lucky with your exploration, you're almost guaranteed to wind up in this situation because of how early the stats spiked. So it's gonna feel bad because you know your stats are this good, but realistically, unless you're extremely lucky, you're not going to get enough exploration done in time to actually get all of the stuff in time for level 14. But Ryguy has managed to find Garenham.
Ratliff did pick up level 15 there. That was 1 more strength, 9 more agility, 11 more hit points, and 3 magic points.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, unless you got extremely unlucky with a dive, it's like as free as you can get.
Yeah, this is about as free a dive as you're going to see for Ratliff particularly, but even in Ryguy's case, he's in pretty good shape too. But that extra 9 agility is always nice. Ryguy in the back of Garanham here, Cursed Belt, a Dragon Scale. Naturally, he just bought one and equipped it. And the Fairy Water, so... guess what?
Below the town?
This is going to be, I think, guaranteed Staff of Rain Cave in the basement. And I think Ryguy...
which means Deep Diving Grave.
Which means Deep Diving Grave. So, and that also means your routing is going to take you back here anyway. So you've got to come back to Garanham after you dig out Grave, which was way over on the south coast. Still quite a bit of walking for both of our racers here to do as Ratliff returns the princess, get his Gwaelin's love so he can count these coordinates as well. It looks like Ryguy has a little bit of a leg up on the exploration.
Oh, definitely. He has seen every location so far. He just needs to do a lot of walking. But as you said, I mean, the exploration of this seed was already bad, but as you mentioned, this need to actually go there first, unless someone just lucked out by Deep Diving Grave early, you need to do this massive walk to actually just both get there to find out you need to Deep Dive Grave, and then get your ass back over there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, it's interesting too, because I think Ratliff is a racer who is sometimes inclined to Deep Dive Grave, but he didn't have the keys to do it when he was in Grave the first time, so even if he'd wanted to, he wouldn't have been able to do it. But Ryguy into Grave now.
Yeah, that's the difference there. It's just not that you don't just need to want to Deep Dive Grave, you also need the actual resources to make the dive happen in the first place. I mean, at this point with the stats you have, it's like you might almost be inclined in Ratliff's case especially to just avoid fights altogether at this point.
Yeah, he's really in a spot. I think if I were in his shoes, his metal slime shoes right now, I would be ducking every fight I could.
And please don't tell me that NPC is going to make the ultra jerk move. Oh no.
It did. You hate to see it.
He had one of 3 directions he could go that would be really bad. Don't you know it?
On the other hand, what Ryguy is really happy to see is Silver Harp and Grave Chest 4, but he's going to keep diving here because on level 14, he would need the Death Necklace. Yeah, he needs that Death Necklace, so he's going to keep on going. He's seen every other chest in the overworld, so since he's down here, I think this is the right call. Go ahead and do this now. You don't know if level 15 will be anything, even if you do have to get there. So on this agility, yeah, I think I definitely check this chest out. You don't want to miss this and then show up in Charlock only to find that the Death Necklace was sitting at grade 5.
Yeah, even if it could be in Charlock, and it's more likely to be in Charlock, it would feel real bad if it was in here. But it's not, it's just a torch. But that uneasiness at the back of your mind is never going to go away until you actually check it.
Exactly. So now Ryguy returns once again, fished his harp out of grave 4. He has to walk all the way back to the northeast coast in Garanham to trade this harp in, and come all the way back to start to get his rainbow drop. So, well, we've still got a little bits to go here before we see our first Charlock entry. But Ratliff has checked off that rim chest, and he's continuing to hurt more stuff, though. If he's exploring, it looks like he's just going to continue accumulating experience, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I think it's mostly in the case of Axe Knights. It's like, probably counting the amount of run fails you could potentially get, it's probably roughly as fast to just hurt more it than trying to run away. And he won't mind getting another level even if he doesn't need it. It's more the cases of enemies that don't give a lot of experience or are at least easy to run away from or repellable he's not going to be interested in.
Ratliff gets to Breckenary for the first time, does not need to top off, and so bolts immediately. This will dead end, and he's going to have to wrap around to continue his exploration here.
Yeah, I mean, he should roughly know where he needs to go right now, but he's still definitely behind the ryguy on exploration, even if he's kind of decently far ahead on experience, because, like, he's going to need to do the same walk that ryguy has been making, so ryguy is essentially the whole walk back and forth, plus actually exploring the locations themselves ahead in terms of exploration and pure movement.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. It's really just that entire loop that has to be closed for Ratlif now, has to get the rest of the stuff and then do all of the things ryguy just did. Have to end up going back to Grave, and then we'll have to double back to Garanham, so right now it looks like ryguy has a pretty strong lead in this race, and given where the statistics are, I'd say he's definitely the favorite right now to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a different story if you had, like, way lower stats and you would need more than level 15, so then the experience difference could actually end up mattering, but at this point, ryguy is going to pick up level 15 within not too long, and for barring any potential extreme unfortunate circumstances, should be capable of diving and beating the Dragon Lord in just one go at level 15.
Yeah, level 15, as you pointed out earlier, is very free. So, ryguy with full knowledge now, he can grab that Death Necklace in Charlock, wherever it happens to be. He'll be at 133 attack power. On level 15, he'll have 15 heal mores, so he'll be in plenty of spare hit points, so he'll be in great shape on his dive when he gets there.
Now the question is, we could essentially do a pyramid game, and interesting decision making comes into play here, because even at 15, while you could probably win at 124 attack power without using the Death Necklace with the extra doubles and whatnot, I think almost everyone would prefer having the additional 10 attack power, and since he will want it, does he check the judges table first, or does he go to the treasury first and risk doubling back to the table?
That's a really good question, and I think in this situation, with as much resources as you have, I guess it kind of depends. The odds play, of course, is you've got the 6 chests in the treasury, but if you're really intent on not going back, then you might not have to worry about it. ryguy has opted to get the level 15 on this Golem Spike tile, and he's just going to take a Death Warp to get his resources back. Still needs to go trade for the drop after this, but then he'll be on his way to Charlock. But just to your point, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think you could definitely, this is a case you could definitely make. You can go to Judge's Table first. The Charlock dive is non-threatening. You got plenty of resources, and the time saved going to that single vanilla sword chest first, if the Death Necklace happens to be there, could be a problem, but I guess a lot of that might hinge on how our runners feel. This is one of those super fast seeds, and generally speaking, you'll see runners go for that volume play instead in the treasury. So ryguy's got his rainbow drop, and we're going to find out pretty soon what his decision is as Ratlif clears the chest in the back of Garanham.
Yeah, the big difference in this case, in this seed especially, would be the just huge amount of resources you would have on the dive, because a lot of the time you would also feel uncomfortable in prolonging your dive in case it's not on the table, like you're
exactly.
going an additional distance, but with this much resources, and essentially none of the enemies we've seen that you will find in Charlock, apart from that Axe Knight, really has anything that you really need to worry about, so the dive itself isn't threatening, and you have a lot of spare resources, so you can afford to make the additional trip in case it's not there, so it's like you're not afraid of losing out on resources and needing to re-dive, which would often be another concern in checking all of the locations.
Yeah, great point. So we do get a first encounter Armored Knight here. They are one of the 2 most difficult enemies to run from in Charlock, but ryguy, with the extreme amount of resources he has, can just afford to run from literally everything in Charlock. There's no need to do any fighting here. Unfortunately, he is not quite breaking anything here yet, so can't repel those wizards. But first zone so far looks pretty tame. We haven't seen any of those dangerous abilities that would cause problems for our Charlock monsters. Really either, with the exception of that Axe Knight with Sleep, but even that you're not super worried about because of the weak breath behind it and the high hit points.
Yeah, you would mostly be like, not so much worried, but it would have a higher risk of just wasting resources, and realistically the only thing that could potentially end your dive if you get really unlucky.
Ratlif is in the northeast. He's going to find coal, so he'll pick up his stones first. He does have the GPS and is in the neighborhood of the coordinates as well, so he'll have the rest of the information he needs momentarily. But Ryguy, meanwhile, now into second zone of Charlock, I believe.
Yeah, and once he has checked the coordinates, he will have the information he needs to know that he will need to deep dive grave, and once he's actually picked up his armor, well, he just needs to find his way back to grave and then back to Garenheim.
Not sure if has Ratlif. Yeah, Ratlif is still taking swamp damage, so he doesn't have that armor yet, and he has not pinged his GPS lately.
I think he might have a rough estimate of where he is relative to where he needs to be. He's now double checking.
Now, Ryguy gets run blocked a lot. There are both Armored Knights and Red Dragons in Zone 2. Still not a huge concern at this point. But something to keep an eye on for both dives.
Yeah, it could potentially cost you some resources or slow you down, but nothing... I mean, since we said none of them have anything more dangerous than usual, so you're not really worried as much as just... You don't want to have to burn any resources if you don't have to.
Yeah, and this also might, knowing that both of those enemies are in Zone 2, if Ryguy had been thinking about going to Vanilla Sword first, that might dissuade him because it keeps you in Zone 2 much longer to have to dig out that Vanilla Sword chest. So he's just going to power through, is in the U floor already, and almost to the final basement of Charlock, where there are 6 chests. Death Necklace could be in one of those, and if it is, this will be even freer for Ryguy. You could, of course, just take the fight on these stats if you wanted to, but it's certainly a better fight with the Death Necklace in this situation.
Yep. So get your guesses in chat if you want to play on the pyramid game. We're about to start checking.
Ratlif has obtained the armor, has seen all of the other overworld checks, and is on his way back to grave.
Gold, gold. Torch. Fairy water. Cursed belt. 50-50. Death necklace. I don't know which of the chests that actually amounts to in the pyramid game because I'm not American. As I understood it, it's a reference to an American show, but...
Yes, it is a reference to the old game show, the $20,000 Pyramid. And in this case, I think that is the $50 chest, although
yeah,
myself...
Chat's saying 50.
Yeah, chat's saying 50, so we'll believe chat. But with that Death Necklace, of course in Vanilla the Death Necklace is just good for selling, but in Randomizer there's a flag that is on in most cases that equipping the Death Necklace curses you, but it gives you plus 10 attack power at the expense of 25% of your total hit points. So in this case, getting from 124 to 134 will be a huge improvement in Ryguy's fight speed and just his odds in general. So this will be a much cleaner fight with that Death Necklace equipped.
And level 16 had a sliver of gains as well. Even more hit points and a small booster or attack power and agility. Ratlif actually picking up that level 16 by one-shotting a red dragon with an excellent hit.
if you're gonna do it with style. Level 16 is one of the biggest go levels I've seen in a long time. Great shape here, but of course Ryguy has just cleared the Spike, very trivial fight there against that Armor Knight, and has arrived at the Dragon Lord. So Ryguy will be our first racer into the Dragon Lord fight, and this is a very free fight, assuming it's according to plan.
Yep, and Ratlif is just now starting his walk back to get to the trading cave beneath Garenham. But yeah, I mean, in most seeds you won't see ghost stats quite this extreme as this level 16, but in most cases, even in seeds where you get similar stats on similar low levels, most of the times you don't see the higher levels simply because you're ready to just dive and win before you actually see them. But in this case, you got the stats early, but there was still a lot of exploration left to do.
Yeah, it was like you said earlier. When you were talking about the exploration, it's just a matter of the seed almost insisted that you take this many levels because of all the exploration you had to do and walking back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, the only way you would avoid, especially in Ratlif's case, but just in general, hitting further levels at this point would be to just outright completely ignore everything you encounter. But yeah, as you mentioned, the Death Necklace flag is generally on in almost every race you would see, which makes me wonder, it's become such a staple at this point. I wonder if there was ever like something like the King of the Hill and somebody turns off the Death Necklace flag. I'm sure there would be some runners that would forget that the Death Necklace flag is actually off and would end up using the Death Necklace if it's a situation that will warrant it, despite it not having an effect and only realizing after the effect.
It does happen from time to time. The thing of it is, when you turn that flag off, the game reverts to its vanilla behavior, which means the Death Necklace is not guaranteed to be found. It's just a 1 in 32 chance to grab it from that chest, but if you get unlucky and get the Death Necklace, you can sell it, but if it's tri-stated, you might not know whether it's on or off.
Yeah.
And that could trick you into equipping it. It's happened in at least one occasion before. Ryguy's fight is... sorry about that. Ryguy's fight winding down here. He's down to 3 heal mores, but is in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
yes,
I can't really imagine that he doesn't have enough. But yeah, I'm not too familiar with the more vanilla mechanics, so I wasn't even aware of the Death Necklace. Well, I think I've heard at some point, but it's been such a rare topic that it's just been filtered out at some point.
Yeah, it doesn't come up very often, so I'm glad we got to talk about it in some detail. But Ryguy here, please everybody get your GGs out in chat. Ryguy3745 not only bought a bamboo pole today, but also comes in first place in this race in the pole slime group.
Yep, he is a winner in more than one way.
Yes, he is. Improves his record to 5-1, sets himself up in great position in this group. Well done, Ryguy. Great race.
And while we haven't had the official toggle or button clicked for it, it would seem that Ratlif forfeited once he saw that GG. And we should have both of them in here in just a little bit.
Sorry, I can't hear anyone again. I'll try.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us now?
Okay, now I hear you guys.
Oh, excellent. Welcome in, GG Ratlif. I just want to remind you real quick, if you haven't hit the forfeit button in the race room yet.
Oh.
Probably.
Yeah.
Welcome, Ryguy.
Hello, GG's Ratlif.
GG. That was a bit messy for me. Yeah, so I'm not surprised you finished when you did, I guess.
Well, I don't think you can blame yourself too hard, because the exploration of that seed was just painful no matter how you look at it, unless you were like really lucky in just routing your path throughout the land. You would most likely find grave without any keys, so regardless of you maybe intending to deep dive it when you find it, you wouldn't be able to at the first time. So it's a lot of almost required walking back and forth, even if you do route it efficiently. So it's very difficult to actually route that seed in a way that doesn't feel bad, so to speak. Ryguy did have to make a walk all the way, well, essentially the same walk you had to do to grave and back and forth and back and forth.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. Was Ryguy kind of ahead of me the whole time, or what was it like in the start? I wasn't too excited about my start either, so.
Well, he was roughly ahead of you in exploration for most of the seed, not by too much in the early game. It was mostly around the time when, like, you were around level 13, 14, somewhere around there, that he managed to eke out more of the necessary exploration at that point. He also found Rimeldar for the keys earlier, but it essentially came down to you having a bit of an experience lead on him, and him having more of an exploration lead on you.
Yeah, that start especially was weird. It felt like one of those, like, oh, you have hurt more, go, go, go. And I wandered out and didn't find anything to hurt more for a while. So it felt kind of slow, even though we had hurt more.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was like 15 minutes in, and I didn't really have that much experience, so.
Yeah, I mean, the stats, like, it started off somewhat slow, but not too bad. But then once they started jumping, they really started jumping. And as you said, there weren't a lot of early hurtmoreable enemies until you got to the other zones. But it's still like, and without a lot of MP, you only had one cast to begin with. It's like you couldn't really make much of a stretch early. So early exploration was kind of difficult, since you also, it was kind of difficult to get any decent amount of gold to maybe pick up some equipment to make exploring easier. It was like, as you said, it was a hurtmore start, but a weird one where it's like you should be off to an early start, but it was kind of hard getting off the ground in a way that you might expect.
Yeah, I guess it could have gone well. Like, somebody could have gone to Cantlin to start out, loop around the Rimolder, maybe Huxnest, you know, get keys early. That would have helped a lot, but neither of us did that, I think, so.
Yeah, I mean, because of the way the stats panned out, it's almost guaranteed that you're like going to hit go stats or almost go stats before you finish your exploration. So it's like this seed almost entirely comes down to how you route and how you explore, because unless you're like really either unlucky or just how your encounters pan out, you're almost guaranteed to hit at least level 14, but likely level 15 before you're even finished with all of your necessary trading and exploration. And with the stats as they were, that's like you could probably dive at 14, 15 should be free, and 16 is super free.
I forget which level it was. Whichever one gave us the 70 MP was pretty hilarious, but I think that was like 12 or something. We might have almost been in go mode then. As soon as we got that MP, it was kind of silly. I know it took me a second to realize, like, I have enough to just attack this golem with my bamboo pole and just heal more over and over and over again and kill this golem in Hawksness. It was kind of silly how much MP we had once we got that 70.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't believe our eyes first when we saw that 70, since, like, first of all, it vanished from the screen almost instantly since you were just pressing away, but we were pretty much baffled at the amount. But you still needed a few more levels at that point, because I think at that point you had like 120 attack power, and you weren't really in comfortable Death Necklace range yet, so you essentially just needed a small additional bump at that point. But yeah, that 70 was insane.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem was, that agility of 66, wasn't super thrilled about that. I kind of cleaned up level 15 just because I didn't want to try diving on 66 agility. It turned out there were armoreds on zones 1 and 2 and 3, I think, and reds at least the middle zone, so it wasn't something I was super excited to do on 66 agility. So
Yeah, at least only the Axe Knights had anything really nasty, so there wasn't anything super dangerous. It was just basically the standard run checks. So, and I don't think, did you even see a single Axe Knight in your dive?
I can't remember. I saw a few armored knights for sure. I don't remember if I saw any axe ones though. They at least had baby breath after they put you to sleep, I remember.
Yeah, we essentially came to the conclusion that the Axe Knights would mostly be a resource hog if you did run into them, since they're very unlikely with the combination of that baby breath that they're actually going to actually take you down, unless you got really unlucky both in your timings between walks and how long you actually slept for, that they would actually cause you to fail a dive. At most, they might force you to lose a heal more or hurt more worth of MP.
I will say, I don't know if... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, just to let you know, I didn't get into Sharlock. I was heading to Sharlock, like, as you won, so that's where I finished.
Yeah, it was just pretty much had just finished everything he needed to do to actually go to Sharlock at the time when you hit, well, essentially when you reached the Dragon Lord. He was just finishing up his stuff.
Yeah, so it wasn't that close, and I wasn't really surprised about that, I guess I'd say.
It's a tough seed to know where you are in that one, especially with the exploration, because I don't think there's any way for that exploration to feel good. And that top part of the map, that was when I first realized how messy the map was. It seemed fine at first. I saw that little desert loop, I'm like, oh, this is whatever. And then got the coordinates. I got the princess. I think I could hear Brian screaming at me to reverse count it, you coward, but I didn't. But I thought it was up by Breckenary. I was like, oh, cool, Brecken, where are we? It's like 17 north. This thing goes 80 steps. Okay, oh boy, there's a lot up there in there.
Yeah, I mean, as has been mentioned already, I mean, regardless of how we route that seed, I don't think there's almost any runner that is going to really feel good about like where they are relative to where they expect their opponent to be. It's one of those seeds where it's going to be very difficult to accurately like feel out where your opponent is, probably, because in a high exploration seed like this, you're always going to feel very uncertain about where you are relative to your opponent.
Well, and plus that northern area of the map was so far away. Any death you took up there felt horrible. You just lost so much time anytime you died exploring up there. So anytime you died up there, it's like, I lost again, I lost again. So all those deaths were rough up there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would. I mean, as you said, death at that stage is like such a time loss that you might even start thinking things like that death might have been what cost me the race and things like that, because it's such a huge time loss when you need to, well, essentially just run across the entire map in a seed like this. But yeah, GG's and good luck to you in your coming races now. I think you're at 5-1 and Ratlif is at 1-2 at this point.
Yep, that's right. Thank you.
Yep, that sounds right. All right, thank you.
And be sure to give our runners a follow, and I want to give a shout out to Centroid for doing tracking in this race, as well as Archfield the Monk for both restreaming and joining me for commentary in this race. And thanks to everyone in chat for watching this race. Be sure to check out and follow everyone involved, and also check out the schedule available on the Discord and probably in chat right now, where you can see all of the other upcoming races and what times they will be held at. As well as right now on stream, but...
Yeah, we do have... There are... Go ahead, Ratlif.
Oh, I was just going to say GG, and thanks everyone for doing all the work that you guys do.
Absolutely. GG to you both. Thanks for the race today. I do want to point out we are going to head to the DW Randomizer channel immediately after this one. We do have a quad going on over there. And then, as you see there on the schedule, there are so many races tonight. Actually, 6 total at 9 o'clock, 2 of which will be right back here on RPG Limit Break. And then 4 others that are not on Restream, but if you check out the DWR Discord, those might get picked up somewhere else. So keep an eye out for that. But any thoughts, anybody else, before I send us over to DWR?
No, thanks everyone for watching and everyone for helping out, and good luck with your future races. I've been Minaro, joined by Archfield the Monk and, as mentioned, Centroid on tracking. We'll see you around.